Chapter 7, Test Review. In 1, 2, and 3, they want you to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of these angles. So the first thing we need to do is we need to do our little saying. Sally could tell Oscar had a hat on always. And it says here to put in decimal form. And also, when you do the sine of A, it's asking you for just this. It just wants to know what the two legs divided out come to be. So we want a sine of A, so this is angle A, and the opposite is straight across from it. So we have 40 over my hypotenuse, which this is my hypotenuse, so that's 41. And that would put in our calculator and do 40 divided by 41 gives me 0.975. And that's right, because sine and cosine have to go between -1 and 1. So that one works. Now it says do the cosine of B. Well, we do B is here. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is my hypotenuse. So that means this one's my adjacent. So again, I have 40 over 41, which is your 0.975. And then it asks me to do the tangent of A. So here's A, and we have opposite. So we have opposite is 40 over my adjacent is 9. So I go 40 divided by 9, and that is 4.4. And that's fine because tangent is actually all real for the outcomes. Alright, number 4. It says to find the exact value of sine of -45 degrees. So the first thing you have to do is to do your x and y. So now it says to do a -45, right? So we're here, a -45 would be down here, right? So if this is 45 degrees, that means this is my 1, 1, and this is square root of 2 because that's my right triangle. That's where it creates it. Now, on your x and y axes, this is negative, right? So if you always remember that you can always put the negative in first, that might help you to figure out if it's positive or negative. So sine is your opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite is -1 over the square root of 2. But we can't have the square root of 2 on the bottom. So what we're going to do is I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 2. So my final answer is negative square root of 2 over 2. On this one we have 4 pi over 3. Well, let's convert that to degrees so we can see what it is. So if I have 4 pi over 3, what do I have to multiply this by to get it into degrees? Yes, 180 over pi. My pi's cancel out. So I have 4 times 180 divided by 3. So let's see what degrees that is. So I have 4 times my 180 divided by 3. It's 240. So I'm finding the sine of 240. So if positive, so it goes here, there's 180, 270, so that means it's in this quadrant. So I'm going to actually draw it right here so you guys can see it. But now I need to know what angle this is right there. So if it was 180 to this one, and I went to 240, I need to go 240 minus 180. So I'm going to take and go minus, like 240 minus my 180. I get 60. Now, if this is 60, that means that this one down here is my 30, because that's my right triangle. So across from the 30 is my 1. Across from 60 is my square root of 3. Sorry about this. That's horrible. Square root of 3. Now this 1 is negative, and this square root of 3 is also negative, because that's where it falls, right? So it says to find the sine. So it's opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite is the square root of 3, which is negative. So negative square root of 3 over 2. But see how this is in the negative, so that means that this is negative 1, and this one would represent negative square root of 3. So that's the other way that you can always do it, so you don't forget your negative signs. Tangent, we have to the nearest degree, give the measurement of the first quadrant angle such that tan theta is this. So we are trying to find the theta. So if we have tan theta is 0.509, how do I find theta? I have to, yes, take the inverse. So I'm going to take the inverse of both sides, and I'm going to go in my calculator, tan inverse of 0.509, and I get, I make sure my mode is in, and my mode is not in degree. I was like, it kind of looked wrong, because I'm like, that doesn't look like a good angle. So 26.98, or approximately 27 degrees. So the first time, I don't know if you noticed, the first time I got 0.47, I was like, that doesn't look like an angle. So you want to make sure you always check your mode, because now I was in radian, but now I needed to be in degree. So that is my answer. And it does say degree right there. So now convert 585 to radians. So if I have 585 degrees, what do I have to multiply this by to get rid of the degrees? Yes, pi over 180. And so my degrees cancel out, and I have 585. So I have 585 divided by 180, and I have to do the math fraction, and so that gives me 13 pi over 4. Now, if you needed to, what I would do if you don't have the calculator that does fractions, you'll have to divide this by 5 and keep reducing until you get to your 13 pi over 4. when you're dealing with 8 and 9, you have to kind of decide what am I given and which one can I use, because you have the law of sines, you have the law of cosines that we have to use. I would always love to use the law of sines because law of sines is the easiest one, but to do the law of sines you have to have an angle and a side, which we have, but then we need another, and that is one variable, and then we need an angle and a side, but we would have two unknowns if we wanted to do the law of sines, and there's no way to find out any of the others, so we have to use the law of cosines, which is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c, and this is, remember, is your angle. So the biggest thing that you have to do is you have to go with what angle do you have. So I have 35. So that means that cosine of 35 has to go there. So that means 35 is your C. So straight across from that, that has to be your little c. So that is this one. So that means this has to be x squared. And then a and b, it doesn't matter. So 15 and 26 are going to be your a and your b. So we have here, and now we just fill it in. So we have 15 squared plus 26 squared minus 2 times 15 times 26, and then your cosine of 35. Since we are solving for a side at this point, we just can throw this all into our calculator. So we have 15 squared plus 26 squared minus 2 times 15 times 26 cosine of 35. So I get x squared is equal to 262.06. And now to get x by itself, I have to, take the square root. So I'm going to take the square root of my answer. And remember, to take the square root of your answer, what I did is I took the second, and that goes your square root, and then second, and then down here is where you get your answer. So then I put that, and I get that x is equal to 16.2. On 9, remember, law of sines is where I go first. So I have here an angle and a side, and an angle and a side. Well, I still have two unknowns, but there is a way I can find this. So I'm going to take 180, and I'm going to subtract these and get them. So I'm going to have 180 minus my 26 minus my 57. So I get 97. So that means this right here is 97. So I have sine of 97 over x is equal to sine of 57 over 14. X is on the bottom, so I'm going to go times x over here, and I'm going to times 14 over there. So I'm going to go 14 sine 97 is equal to x sine 57. And then I'm going to divide by sine of 57. So this cancels out. And then I will go 14 sine of 97 divided by sine of 57. And I get 16.6. Alright, number 10 says to find exactly. So that means we are looking at our triangles, and at our 60-30 triangle, the one across from our 30 is 1. The one that's adjacent is the square root of 3, and our hypotenuse is 2. So it's looking to see what did I multiply square root of 3 by to get 27, right? So I don't know, by just looking at it I can't really see, so I'm going to say square root of 3 times whatever I did is going to equal my 27. And I'm going to divide by square root of 3. And again, I can't have the square root of 3 on the bottom, so I'm going to take and multiply the top and bottom by what? Yes, the square root of 3. So I'm going to take and go 27 over square root of 3. I'm going to multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. So I get 27 square roots of 3 over 3. And then this reduces. So 27 divided by 3 is your 9. So we have 9 square roots of 3. So my scale factor of this one is 9 square roots of 3. I'm going to put scale factor then, is 9 square roots of 3. So that means if I multiply each side by 9 square roots of 3, that's what I'm going to get. So 9 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 27. 9 square roots of 3 times 1 gives me s. So that means s is 9 square roots of 3. And then this one has to be 2 times that. So t is 2 times 9 square roots of 3. 2 times 9 is 18. So we have 18 square roots of 3. So that means s was your 9 square roots of 3, and t is 18 square roots of 3. So the first step on doing these types of problems is to find the scale factor. What did I multiply the original by, which was 1 square root of 2, to get this? So what did I multiply square root of 2 by to get 18? So I go and I go square root of 2 times t is equal to 18. So I'm going to divide by the square root of 2. Multiply both top and bottom by the square root of 2. So I have on the top, I have 18 square root of 2 over 2. Well, 18 divided by 2 is 9. So 9 square roots of 2. 9 square roots of 2 is my scale factor. So my scale factor on this one was 9 square roots of 2. So that means I have to multiply all these sides by the 9 square roots of 2 to get these. So 9 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 18. And then I just have to multiply these by 1. So that means x and y both are 9 square roots of 2. Alright, number 11. For what value of x such that 0 is between 360 does sine of 52 equal cosine of x? So, first of all, we have to think about sine of 52. Sine of 52 is a positive number, right? So we also need to know where else, so where is, what one do we have? So we have here, let's go and first of all find our number. So this and this have to add up to 90. So we have 90 minus my 52, which gives you 38. Take a drink just a second. Then you have to think cosine of 38. Just so you can kind of see, we have cosine of 38. So that equals your 0.788, right? So now we're looking for where else is cosine positive. So thinking about your quadrants, is cosine your x or your y? It's your x. So that means we have this one, 38's in this one. The other one is right here. So how do I find the angle here? Yes, it's 360 minus my answer, so of 38. So we have 360 minus my 38, and I get 322. So my two angles are 38 and 322. Now, just so you guys know, these two angles, remember, are from a triangle. And if this one is 52 degrees, they're asking you what angle this is right there. So these two have to add up to 90. That's how I got my 52, or my 38. So that's why I went 90 minus 52 is 38. So these two angles right there have to add up to 90, and they have to be cosine and sine because of your SOHCAHTOA. Alright, so just so you can see, just to make sure, you can go sine of 52 is equal to that. And then we did cosine of 38, and that equals, and then you can do cosine of your 322, and that also equals. So that is all true. Okay, so a wheelchair ramp is shown below. They want you to find x. So we have our and we know that let's see, what do we know? We know from this angle, we know our opposite, and we know our hypotenuse. So we can say sine of 82 is equal to our opposite, which is 20.3 over our hypotenuse of x. Now, x is on the bottom. What can I do? Multiply both sides by x. So this is gone. So I have x sine 82 is equal to 20.3. Now how do I solve for x? Yep, divide by sine 82. So I'm going to go 20.3 divided by sine of 82. So I have x is equal to 20.5. And since this says feet, that means that this is also feet, because it was given a unit. Whoops, sorry. Let's do this again. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we have, tells us who's standing where and just the links and stuff. If you need to, pause it if you want to read through it. But what we're doing is we're finding x. So we're given an angle, and let's see, we're given an angle here, and we definitely could find this angle. So that's my first step, is because I'm going to have to find this angle right there. So I'm going to take my my 180, and I'm going to subtract my 16, and I'm going to subtract my 106. So I get 58. So I have 58 degrees right here. So now I can definitely use the law of sine. So I have sine of 58 over the opposite one straight across is 1748 is equal to, and the x is straight across from 16, so I have to use that one. So I have sine of 16 over x. Since both of them we have fraction on both sides, I like to cross multiply. So x sine of 58 is equal to 1748 sine of 16. And then I'm going to divide by sine of 58. That's gone, so I just put the other in my calculator. 1748 sine 16 divided by sine of 58. Gives me 568.1, and the side is in meters. Convert 8 pi over 7 to degrees. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 8 pi over 7, and I'm going to multiply that by what? Yeah, 180 over pi. My pi's cancel out, leaving me with, in my calculator, 8 times 180 divided by 7 gives me 205 degrees. Or no, 206 about. Alright, number 15. Which coordinate can represent cosine of 210? So the first thing we have to do is find 210. So from here to there is 180. So, and remember 270 is there, so this has to be the 210. Then I have to think about what one is sine and which one's cosine. Which is x and which is y. Alphabetically, x comes before y, so cosine of the angle and then sine of the angle. So that means we have this point would be your G. And then it says which coordinate can represent sine of 290. So we have here 180, 270, that has to be 290. Now sine, so sine is my y, so that has to be k. Now if I wanted to know what this point is, just for curiosity, if I wanted to know what point this is, hopefully it makes sense that if I do cosine of 210, that's going to give me my G value, just so you know, that's my G value. So if I do cosine of 210, I just did cosine of 210, that gives me, that means that this is, right there is negative 0.866. So this one is negative 0.866, and might as well find my y value, which would be the sine of that. So sine of 210 is the negative 0.5. That's how you'd find the coordinates of that. And that's what this point is right there. So that is its point. So negative 0.866 and negative 0.5. And actually I think I might do that as extra credit on the test. So if you're watching and you got that, I'm going to put that as extra credit on the test. That's a good question. And it's kind of like an Easter egg. You ever watch a movie and you get to see an Easter egg, means that there's an extra clip in the movie. So that's like your Easter egg. So now you know what the extra credit is going to be on the test. Alright, 17 and 18. It says, answer each of the questions about the graph. What is the period of the function? Remember, a period is where you start and you finish that function, and it's going to continue again and do that same exact thing over and over again. So it takes from here to there to get done. So it's 360. As theta increases from 0 to 180, how do the values of the function change? So from here to here, what is happening to the function? Yes, it is decreasing. So the values are decreasing from 1 to negative 1. Number 19. It says to graph y equals cosine x for this, negative 2 pi to 2 pi. So what it wants you to do is it wants you to graph in radians. So the first thing I would do, and since you're doing cosine, I would represent and draw my unit circle. And remember, we have this point right there is 1, 0. This one is 0, 1. this one all the way over here is my -1, 0, and here is 0, -1. I know it's cosine theta and then sine of theta. Now, instead of doing it in your degrees, which we know are degrees, we can do it in our radians. So we start here at our 0, and then we have all the way over here is 180. What does pi equal? Pi equals 180. So that means that this is pi, because pi equals 180. So if this is pi, that means that 90 is pi over 2, right? And then we have here, we have all the way over here is our 2 pi. Because this is pi, so this is 2 pi. So what it wants you to do, and it only has 2 spots, so and it goes to 3, remember it goes all the way around, so we have here, so we have 2 pi is all the way, and then this one is our pi. This is our negative pi, and this is our -2 pi. So we have here, let's plug in our point. So we're doing cosine, so we're doing, the first value is 1. Our second value is at 0. So this is 0. Nope, 0, sorry. Oops, missed my line. Pi is at -1. Next point is at 0, and then it's at 1. Going backwards, we want to go backwards so that we can get these ones. So we're going backwards. So here's our, would be this point. So where it's at, we have 0 again. Cosine is -1. Zero and 1. And remember, it goes here, rounds down, and it just goes up and down.